Hey everybody, this is Steven, your host with Bourbon Bay Talks, and I'm here with Paul from Wicked Dolphin, and I'm going to let him tell us about Wicked Dolphin, about himself. So Paul, you want to take it away?
Awesome, thanks Steve, appreciate you. My name's Paul, I'm one of the distillers here at Wicked Dolphin. There's actually four of us, me and my buddy Matt, as well as Skylar and one of our new trainees, Steve. Wicked Dolphin's been here since 2012. Miss Joanne, our owner here, had retired to Southwest Florida after owning a successful company overseas for several decades, and retirement was not her thing. And she realized really quickly that a lot of the raw materials you need to make rum comes from Florida, and there wasn't a very rich rum culture, distilling culture in Florida. It was here, but there wasn't a lot of people making rum. So she decided she wanted to take local ingredients, and take some local guys, and make some local rum, and kind of focus on sourcing raw materials and getting the best of everything we could to make rum. So it took her several years to get going. There weren't a lot of rules and regulations in Florida at this point. Her and several other distillers at the time were trying to build distilleries had to actually go to the Florida House of Representatives and speak to the government and try to build and establish the rules and regulations that we're governed by here today.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it definitely keeps growing, especially recently. We just had the rule that came out on July 1st that allows craft distillers to start making cocktails, which I'm sure has been great for business.
Been fantastic for us. Building a cocktail program is going to be a lot of fun. I have a unique position here as not only being one of the distillers, but also being the mixologist in the building. So having a unique perspective of the production of the spirit into cocktails gives me a whole different kind of presentation for a cocktail program.
Yeah, and now kind of going further on to that, how did you get started with Wicked Dolphin? What is your story?
So funny enough, me starting with Wicked Dolphin was almost on accident. I had a very corporate, 9-to-5 job, and I was not a fan of the corporate world. And my mother's been in real estate for about 25 years, and she was just like, get your real estate license, come work for me. She worked south for a year in Marco Island, and I was just like, all right, I'm gonna get my luxury real estate license and sell one house a year and call it a day. I was one of those, I was a kid, I didn't know any better. And we were opening a brand new office, and they had a bunch of people at the office, and one of the people who was there was Miss Joanne, the owner here, had attended the grand opening of the office. And they called me to go to the grand opening because there was no bartender. And a lot of my time and my days were spent working in liquor stores with public supermarkets and working in their corporate level with them. And they were like, we don't have a bartender and we need to serve drinks. Yeah, I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And I go down there and I don't realize for about 2 or 3 hours I'm bartending and talking to customers about alcohol in front of a lady that owns a distillery. Afterwards, she came up to me and she, hey, you're real good with people. You like talking about alcohol. You like making cocktails. Like serving drinks. Do you want to come do tastings for us? Do you want to come over and we'll send you out to a liquor store somewhere here locally, and we'll give you some samples, and you go talk to people about rum and hand it out. And I'm like, that's the easiest $50 I ever made. I'm in. And I started doing tastings, and then it was, hey, you like talking to people, do you want to do tours and help us out with the tours here in the building? Yeah, sure. And this is very much one of those businesses that the more you learn, the more they'll teach you. So it became from do tastings, then, do tours, then, can you do all the tours? And then, can you help make rum while you're here? And then before you know it, now 7 years later, me and my buddy Matt, the longest tenured employees in the building right now, other than the owner, are responsible for the 150-ish thousand bottles that'll leave this building.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so you were talking about where you guys basically do a lot of sourcing from the state of Florida with your materials. I mean, are you guys, so is the rum itself, is it pure sugar cane or?
Sure, so we use a lot of dark brown sugar. A lot of our flavor profiles, we know we can get a richer, heavier flavor from molasses. And some of our barrel-aged rums, like our 6-year-old rum, like our bonded rum, this is a molasses-based rum and also has some dark brown sugar. But if you want to do something like coconut rum, an all dark brown sugar wash will give you a much lighter rum. So sweeter base, longer fermentation time into distillation gives you a very delicate flavor. And then when we put some really good organic coconut water in here, then that coconut's gonna kind of shine through. Where if you made a real heavy, like almost like Caribbean style rum, the coconut would kind of hide behind the aggressive rum notes. So for us, brown sugar is great in terms of a really nice, beautiful base flavor to do whatever we're gonna do to it.
Yeah, and I know so I guess since you guys have been here, you said since around
2012. Yeah,
2012.
we started in 2009, started actual physical production in 2012. Silver was our flagship rum. This is a single year aged blended rum. And so obviously it takes a year to make this. So started production in 2012, released our first rum here in the building in 2013 and into 2014.
So and you guys have since that time probably built a really nice relationship with your suppliers and just the community as well, I would assume.
Oh yeah, the community here has been phenomenal for us. Craft distilleries and the smaller guys, we're dependent on our local economy. You know what I mean? And because we're dependent on our local economy, we want to give back to that local economy. So I can call companies hours and hours and hours and hours away from me to source strawberries for a strawberry moonshine we make, but there's a great farm like 45 minutes down the road that does strawberries, you know what I mean? So I can go to them. I can source commercial honey much cheaper, but I spend the money to go to the really nice ladies down the road, here in Fort Myers that do great orange blossom honey. And so it's sourcing the right ingredients from the right locations is really important for us, because going that full circle, you know what I mean? Being a local company, going to other local companies to get products and then releasing those products locally as well.
Yeah, I mean, I always love that, especially here in the state of Florida with the craft spirit. They seem to really try to focus on, helping out the local farmers, helping out, their community. So, and then you mentioned the owner and her story a little bit, and it's kind of like going into that aspect where women, even though they've been involved in the distilling industry for thousands of years, it seems like we're starting to get more of a resurgence back from women.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, anything you kind of want to touch on that, like how involved?
I think there was very much what's the right way to put this? Very much it's kind of the unspoken rule in whiskey and bourbon and distilling in general. We had some really nice ladies in the tasting room, but you don't have anybody outside running the still. And the reality of the situation is more and more and more year after year. You're seeing a lot of the women that people thought, they're just hired for tastings and they're hired for tours and that kind of thing. They're running the show. Yeah. Miss Joanne here is very hands-on. A lot of owners, when it comes to beer and liquor especially, are very hands-off. They're very, here's my crew, go do your thing kind of thing. Joanne will come downstairs and cap bottles, you know what I mean, and put lids on bottles and run bottles through the labeling machine, and she's very hands-on with making sure the product meets her very strict standards as well as our very strict standards, so that we're putting the best possible thing we can put out day after day. She understands that we're very good at our job and lets us do our job, but she is not scared to come downstairs from the office and come into the distillery and put her, get her hands dirty and help out, which is huge for a lot of companies, instead of just sitting in the background and you do something they don't like and they go, why didn't you do that? Yeah. Where she's right there on the line next to you, you know what I mean? So it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it builds a great company culture.
Absolutely. Yeah, we don't have to worry about the app that we don't have that absentee owner. She is in it.
And I mean, with that inspiration, how many, because we have 4 of them here, but I did notice you guys have quite a few different, and you had mentioned the strawberry moonshine. So how many different products do you guys?
Currently, right now, we have a base of 14 different rums, and then a vodka as well. And I have 16 products in total. Sometimes a lot of those products will be, look at this cool thing we made, and then when we sell out of it, it's, oh no, it's gone, but hey, look at this other new cool thing we made, so we've got a couple of products that we're constantly in rotation to try new things, to try different things. We work with craft breweries in the area to work with barrels with them. We work with wineries. One of our newest releases was a product that was aged in Oloroso sherry barrels, Italian style sherry barrels from Spain. And we've done different things with different flavored rums and different styles of rum that we don't normally do, but special release. It keeps a lot of our customers coming back for more and more. You know what I mean? They get excited about this. Here comes this new thing that we didn't know was coming. And so we've got our core products, and then we've got our, we get to kind of show off a little bit, show some of our, our skill and some of our, here's this out of the box thing that nobody ever thought of making.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and that seems to be a big trend, not only just in like whiskeys or scotches or bourbon, is that now even in rums they're starting to do those finished products. And like I know you were saying that you get some of your barrels and you're from wineries and local breweries, and where do you typically get a lot of
so the base rums are all aged in bourbon barrels. It's very important for us in terms of the flavor profile we're looking for to get the right flavor from the get-go. Again, we talked about using a lot of dark brown sugar in our fermentation. Yeah. That means you're ending up with a much lighter flavor. So if we're going to barrel age for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 years, we want flavors that are going to be very complementary. So a lot of the bourbon distilleries we work with very corn-heavy mash bills. Yeah. So your Woodford Reserve, your Four Roses, your Elijah Craig, your Heaven Hills, your Old Fitzgerald, these guys, that heavy, sweeter mash base is going to play very well with the rum after several years. You get into companies like Blanton's or Breckenridge, beautiful bourbons, right? They're bringing in things like malted barley and rye into their mash bills, and those flavors can be very heavy and can the rum ends up being stuck behind it instead of in front of it and playing with it. So we have to be very selective, but a lot of sweeter bourbon mash bills. And then with some of our specialty products, Joanna is wonderful with us. We get to, as long as we don't bounce a check or something like that. You know what I mean? We can do pretty much whatever we want. So if we come up with a cool idea and we go, hey, we want to make this blah 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 rum, all we usually get is cool. Let me know how it turns out. That's basically the whole thing. And we'll start at a smaller scale. Got some 15-liter barrels, so I can test at smaller scales. And if we're happy with the development of the flavor profile, we'll go from the 15 liters, which is 4.5-ish gallons, to the 53s. Yeah.
So it allows you guys to be kind of innovative and testing things out. And you said you guys aged it for about 2 years.
So the silver is right around a year.
Yeah.
And it's again, we want a really good balance between that rich, kind of creamy, vanilla forward kind of notes you can get from a really light rum, but not let the oak kind of overtake the whole thing. We don't want bonfire to be the first thing that hits you in the face. So a really nice blend of the silver rum gives us a really good balance between some of the barrel flavors and some of the rum flavors. And then of course you push it all the way to the bonded rum, which you, of course, Mr. Bourbon Steward, very well aware as to bottled and bond styles of products. Not very common in the rum business. This is, I believe, the second registered bottled and bond rum. And so we do a 6-year single barrel 100 proof rum. And this drinks like business in the front, party in the back. You get those those bourbon notes in the front, and then a lot more of those beautiful rum flavors will shine through the finish and linger on through the finish. And then there's a lot of things out here that y'all don't know about. And, that's kind of the point. There's again, here's this cool thing we made. Check this out. You know what I mean?
Well, no, I mean, you guys having the bottled and bond, I think that's probably the only bottled and bond product I think coming out of the state of Florida.
It was
there's any whiskeys that have.
It was very important for us to, we do a lot of flavored rum. We have our bread and butter is our coconut rum and our vanilla rum, and again, being much lower in sugar, using beautifully good quality ingredients makes a huge difference. So although we might sell a lot of coconut rum for pina coladas and a lot of the flavored rums, we wanted to have that that shock and awe moment for our bourbon and whiskey drinkers, where they come in here and they're like, I don't really drink cocktails. I drink whiskey on the rocks, and we go, here, try this, and then the light bulb goes off in their head, like, wow, and the purity of a bottled and bond product. We can prove exactly what this is. The distillation date, the production date is on the bottle. It's printed on the front of the bottle. It's handwritten on the front of every single bottle. The day, the month, and the year this was produced. So this particular batch right now, I believe, is March of 2014, was when this was produced, distilled, and then barreled. And then we waited for a minimum of 6 years. I believe this one was closer to about 6.5 when we dumped it and bottled it up.
Yeah, that's pretty high, especially for a Florida spirit.
Well, and you have to remember, there's not a lot of distillation production of liquor in Florida that we have like a rich history to go back to. You want to know what 50-year-old rum tastes like in the Caribbean? Go to Appleton. They got plenty of it. You know what I mean? But in terms of rum, we were gambling. You know what I mean? We don't know how long rum can age out here. We would make a rum and we'd taste it after 3 years and we'd say, all right, we know what 3-year-old rum tastes like, and next year we're gonna know what 4-year-old rum tastes like, because we just don't know.
And would you say like kind of the difference between distillation of like whiskeys or vodkas or rum? Because I think, doesn't rum kind of almost have a little bit more difficulty in it with distillation?
So, what's the right way to explain this? I've tried to come up with the right way to explain this multiple times, and I think I finally locked it down. Think of it as like a New York strip steak, right? There are thousands of restaurants all over, the United States that all sell New York strips. You can get, the same steak from the same cattle supplier and make it at your restaurant, and then all of a sudden it's a completely different final product than it is at the restaurant 3 miles down the road. Why? Oh, well, their grill's a little different. They cook a little hotter. This one does reverse searing, which is super cool. You know what I mean? There's that interesting technique. I think with rum you get a lot of the same things. We're all using, sugar, water, yeast, fermenting, and distilling. That's the beginning to end of making a white rum. But the kind of sugar you're using, the kind of yeast you're using, the water filtration, the fermentation profile, what kind of yeast, how much yeast, how long are you fermenting? So although the base of making rum, which is any spirit made from a sugarcane byproduct, that's rum. That's also a very kind of base, boring kind of explanation of rum, which means there's a lot more depth in terms of the creativity of rum and in terms of the what we can do to produce rums. You can put 10 bourbons in front of somebody and get very similar flavor profiles all the way across the board. You put 10 rums in front of somebody, they're drastically different. They're all still rum. Yeah. Because one guy's using this yeast, and one guy's using sugarcane juice, and then this guy's using special molasses from the French Alps or something, you know what I mean? Some weird thing. And so there's a lot of creativity in rum. So rum becomes difficult because we have to pay a lot more attention to the fermentation distillation process. A lot of like your base, all wheat mash bills for whiskey, or your 2-row malt whiskey bills are, start at this sugar content, end at this sugar content, distill it to this proof, coming off the still, and that's the thing, that's it, you're done. But for me, it's, well, what product are we planning on making with this particular rum? Crystal rum, all right, we want to get to a bit of a higher proof. We don't want to ferment it too long because we don't want some of those more acidic flavor profiles that might come from drier washes, But we're gonna make 6-year-old rum. Oh, this is gonna come off the still at 160, not 175 or 180, and this is gonna distill faster, and this is gonna ferment shorter, and then we're gonna filter it different before we barrel age it. Very similar processes. Subtle changes make things very, very different. Which I think is where where you're talking about, where rum can be kind of complicated. Not really complicated as much as very open to interpretation as to my definition of rum and somebody else's might be very different. It's 2 fantastic products coming from 2 very different places that taste very different, both still rum.
Yeah, I know I've been to a couple of distilleries around Florida, and the rums do have that different flavor.
Oh yeah.
And it seems like maybe it's less play from the barrel, or maybe is it more, or just like as much play when it comes
to... The barrel can change a lot, and really with the barrel it's not a lot of where it came from or what was it used for. That's where you get big changes. We don't really see a lot of fresh toasted white oak barrels in the rum business because that's that bonfire flavor that can kind of destroy rum. That's why a lot of us work with used barrels, bourbon, whiskey, brandy, that kind of thing, much softer flavor. But really a lot of rum is from the get-go, that's when things change. It's not like where, we all made the same thing, but you used a little bit of a different yeast, so you got a little bit of a different flavor. Rum bases, just the sugar that goes in, drastically different from location to location. In terms of the volume, what kind of sugar, how they're processing it, how they're cooking it, everything changes.
So, would you say, kind of going into some of the challenges you guys might be facing now or in the future for the distillery as a whole and getting your guys' products out there?
Sure. Right now, one thing a lot of people are dealing with right now, and I'm sure you've dealt with this in your travels, especially recently, thanks to things like COVID, is logistics is a nightmare. Logistics right now is that products that used to take us 2 weeks to get are taking 4 months to get. And we have to beg trucking companies to come pick stuff up, and they don't have anybody to come pick stuff up or somebody to deliver something. So logistics is going to continue to be an issue for us moving forward, probably for another solid year. Who knows in reality, but I mean, there's a lot of dealing with that. And then for us, a lot of it is going to be how far can we expand without changing our process, without straying away from what makes Wicked Dolphin, making sure we're using really good ingredients and the right ingredients and doing the right processes. I don't have a digital control system on the still. I'm not sitting in an office listening to ESPN radio, controlling the still from a computer. I'm out there tasting the rum off the still and adjusting the steam flow and the water flow and the temperature to make sure that, we're changing that flavor as we go and make sure everything's perfect.
So, I mean, what kind of, going off what still, what do you guys do, a pot still, or you do like a combination?
We run a hybrid still. We run from Vendome Copper and Brassworks, we run one of their hybrid stills. Her name's Harriet. 750 gallon full volume still. So we do have one of the largest stills in the state of Florida right now for rum. And it's a pot still and a 7-plate column with a defumator. So we have a lot of, again, freedom there, which we talked about before, which, I could have rums only distilled 9 times, I could distill 3 or 4 times, I could distill 5 or 6 times, and I could change all those temperatures, and we get a lot of freedom in terms of what that final product is going to be like off the still by just opening and closing some valves. Hybrid stills are much more, becoming the norm in the distillation industry. A lot of people love their pot stills, they love their column stills. Hybrid stills are the best of both worlds. You get one, you get both, you get whatever you want, and they're completely customizable on site, as opposed to it shows up and then this still distills 22 times. Well, what if I only want to distill 21 times? Oh well, that setup gives us a lot of freedom.
Yeah, I mean, that's always like just a huge interesting part. And now if you want, Paul, if you want to try some of these, or you want to do a little tasting?
Yeah, you want to try some?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do some tasting.
I think we can definitely do that. Maria's going to grab some bottles. Maria, you want to do, let's do silver 6-year coconut spiced.
But, so Paul, which one would you like to try?
Here you go. All right, so here's 4 very unique products from us for 4 very different reasons, of course. We'll do the 2 unaged products first, and then we'll move into the aged products. I had to break out the 6-year rum for you because I knew you were excited about that. So we'll start off with our coconut rum. A big thing about our coconut rum, first of all, a lot of coconut rums are very low in alcohol content. We're at 60 proof. So that's a good 10 points higher than you'd find with a lot of other brands. We're also much lower with sugar. This is sitting at a cool 3.6 grams of sugar per shot, where a lot of them are 16, 18, 20 plus. The other big thing here is this coconut rum is rum and coconut. This is organic coconut water. Huge difference in the flavor profile. It's clean, it's bright, it's not copper tone flavored rum, you know what I mean? It's a beautifully light flavor profile.
Oh no, that's great. Yeah, you get the coconut, and like you said, it's very clean.
Real fresh flavor, real bright flavors, not aggressively. Exactly. The key for us from the very beginning when it came to blending flavored rums was we want people to drink them the way you want to drink them. Think about what's the most common mixer with rum? It's Coke, right? So you take a really sweet rum and put it in really sweet soda. That's called a hangover. You know what I mean? So starting with a lighter sugar content from the beginning allows us to not only be more approachable to the mass kind of market of drinkers, also allows bartenders a lot more freedom. Because that bartender gets to control a lot more of the sugar content in their cocktails. To a big point.
Oh yeah, and I mean, they could definitely make a lot of cocktails with that, and or you could just go out to the beach with some money.
That's it. Enjoy it, have a good time.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, let's stick with more of like that Florida theme, right? Spiced rum is a very big piece of the rum market, and we wanted to do something just completely off the wall different than your typical everyday, pirate-looking spiced rum. We wanted to do something very different. So there's our spiced rum over there in the corner. A blend of several different spices, 8 in total, including vanilla. Sweetener here is going to be 2 things: a combination of some locally sourced orange blossom honey and some caramel that Matt and I actually produce here in-house.
Oh, you guys produce your own caramel?
We actually make our own caramel for this. And then the other kind of complementary flavor here, which should hit you right off the bat, is some fresh Florida oranges that are
that's what I was
zested,
gonna
and
say.
then
I
that
saw
orange
that,
peel
yeah.
steeps with the spices. So you get the brightness of the orange and the honey up front, and then it's just Christmas all the way down. That heavier spice profile. It's all part of your finish.
Oh wow, yeah, and see, like that's not overwhelmingly spiced. Like sometimes you
Exactly.
get like big brands like Captain or something.
You wouldn't describe spiced rums as bright.
No, it was very.
You know what I mean? You wouldn't normally. Spiced rums are normally, you think of the same thing you would need to make like mulled wine, or something like that. So really sweet, really heavy, kind of aggressive flavor profile. And this is totally in the opposite direction. This is light, vibrant, bright flavors. The orange is super refreshing. The vanilla, very complimentary. The honey and the caramel adds just the right kind of touch of sweetness, where it's not like, again, not super sweet. We wanted to kind of stay in that balanced ballpark. This rum's only about 15 grams of sugar in the entire bottle.
Oh wow.
So it's a huge difference in terms of the final flavor profile.
So yeah, Weight Watchers don't work.
Well, let's take you into barrel-aged rum land, and we'll start you off with that flagship rum. This is our Silver Reserve. This is a single-year barrel-aged blended rum. We currently have the most awarded silver rum or single-year aged rum in the United States. It is one of our most awarded rums to date. And again, this is where we talked about before, that really good balance between the rum flavors and the barrel flavors. The barrel doesn't become overwhelming. It's going to have that beautifully bright rum flavor to it. You're going to get a little bit of richness and creaminess from the barrel, from the tannic acid, from the oak profile. And some of that's coming from the barrel, and some of that's coming from the rum. And this was all about getting enough of the barrel flavor without being heavy and overwhelming.
That's good.
And again, you're going to stick to that. The flavor profile is there, but it's not like a punch you in the face flavor profile. It's very light and approachable. This is like a beautiful mojito rum, beautiful rum and coke rum.
Again, this is another one that if you wanted to do it on
drinking on the rocks. Really the goal from the beginning was, and I tell people this on tours all the time. It's like, well, what should I do with this? And it's like, well, I can tell you the best way to enjoy certain rums. I tell people all the time, I don't care if you build a sandcastle with it, whatever you want to do that you enjoy the most. Should you drink silver rum on the rocks? Yeah, if you go home and make a rum and coke with that, you're not going to make me upset. It's whatever you need to do to enjoy it the best way you know how to enjoy it. We like to give people ideas on cocktails and things like that, but I want you to drink the rum the way that you enjoy drinking the rum. Because that means you're going to drink it and then come back and see me for another one, and that's the point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's definitely like what I usually always love to tell people too. It's like, hey, how do you like to drink this? What's the way you like to drink it?
It doesn't matter how I like to drink it. I'm not the one who's buying it and taking it home. That's you. And of course, we know we got you excited about this bottled and bond. So it had to be the last thing we pulled out for you. This is going to be the most aggressively flavored product, so we definitely want to do this at the end. And you'll notice right off the bat, it doesn't smell like 100% rum. It definitely is, And this comes from, these are Woodford barrels. This last particular batch was Woodford barrels. Again, about 6.5 years old from barreling to blending.
That to me still, that's 6 years, especially here in the state of Florida, knowing
how hot and humid.
Because
good concentration of flavors, though. You know what I mean? Is that heat makes that aging process happen much more assertively and aggressively.
Yeah, and that basically tastes like you're having a really nice bourbon.
Mm-hmm. But you'll notice on the back end, you'll notice you start to get the brown sugar, vanilla, caramel, the baking spice profile, all those things that you would describe like a sweeter bourbon, but you would also describe a good rum. You know what I mean? So there's, again, very complementary flavors. If you wanted a rum that's going to have a lot of rye flavor in it, just go buy some rye.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's get the rum flavors to kind of be the star of the show and shine through the whole thing.
Because yeah, like you said, you definitely get on that finish, the brown sugar. You definitely get some nice, like, you almost get like a little raisin in there too.
Yeah, and that actually comes from our fermentation process. A lot of companies with especially rums like to do shorter fermentations to get that bright flavor from the sugar itself. We want some more of that funky, almost Caribbean style, where we want some of those overripe banana raisin flavors. So we do a whole week of fermentation, as opposed to where, my buddy Jeff over at Bayou is doing like 30, 35-hour fermentation, and we're turning around in 7 days. Very different flavor profiles, you know what I mean? But we want some of those more, let's call them island style flavors, where you would get that from a lot of your raw sugarcane juices and sugarcane syrups and things like that, where we can kind of mimic some of those flavor profiles by doing a longer, slightly drier fermentation than the distilling method. This kind of takes us into the creativity we get with rum of different styles of fermenting and distilling to really kind of swing the flavor profiles around.
No, I mean the bottled and bond. Of course, for me being a bourbon guy, that's definitely my favorite.
I had to touch your heartstrings a little bit with the bonded rum.
And you definitely did. But yeah, that coconut was very, and I'm not usually a sweet coconut fan, but that one was very good.
We usually have a lot of customers who come in here and they go, oh, I don't really like coconut rum. And our first response to them is typically, you don't like copper tone rum. You don't like suntan lotion rum. You don't like artificially flavored rum. This is, again, a lot of people's like, oh, when do you add the flavor? Well, I don't add flavor, but I'm really good at adding organic coconut water. Really good at adding coconut water. And this is where you get into a lot of our work with a lot of our products is not done with laboratories, it's done with farms. Getting oranges and strawberries and blueberries and all these honey and all these beautiful flavors that we need to make a lot of our products.
Well, I mean, and I think it definitely shows because, like, when you use those quality products, it definitely comes out. And then, like you were talking about earlier, with all the decisions, the subtle decisions, I mean, how differently it can make the different flavor profiles. And I mean, yeah, so far I'd have to say Bottle and Bond. I do love that Silver Reserve, which, I mean, and that's the thing too, is like with a lot of rums, there's like different designations almost.
Sure, yeah, that's really a lot of what you find in rum is a big broad category, and then there's a lot of stuff that falls under this big broad category of rum, which is where you get into like vodka's just vodka, right? Vodka is vodka, it's either flavored or it's not. That's the categories. Where on the other side, bourbon is very kind of hyper focused as to these are the exact things you have to do in order to write bourbon on the bottle. So again, you take away a lot of those inconsistencies, you take away a lot of those parameters, you end up with a much more consistent flavor profile all the way across the shelf. Where for us, it's just like rum is this big thing, and you can fall, this is basically 4 different bottles that fall under 4 different categories of spirits. Spiced rum is its own category typically. Flavored rums are its own category. And then the aging products are going to fall typically around the year that they're aged, like the time that they're aged, and then whether or not they're blended or cut rums. Where this is a single barrel rum, right? The 6 year is, obviously bottled and bond, you know about that. But the silver is going to be a blended rum, shorter aging time. So 4 different products, 4 different categories of rum.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, like, it's always kind of just astounding with rum. And I mean, Florida's really well known for its rum, so to kind of be able to separate yourself, I mean, that's the challenge. And kind of going into that now, since we have the Florida Craft Spirit Trail that just launched on Tuesday, how do you see that as like helping you guys out, or being a part of that trail?
So paying attention to kind of, I guess you would say, market trends and things like that, I've noticed kind of over the years with Wicked Dolphin that basically we're almost like exactly a decade back to where craft beer was. We're almost like exactly 10 years behind craft beer. The craft beer guys really started the craft explosion, and then craft distilling has gained popularity over time. So think about where the craft beer guys were 10 years ago. They were starting ale trails. They were starting, craft beer tours where you could, the bus would come get you and take you to 6 breweries all day, that kind of thing. So I think it'll be a big thing because craft as a whole is a huge kind of a market right now, where a lot of people leaning less away from the big, massive, we make 5 million cases a year brands, and going towards, I met the guy who made that yesterday, you know what I mean? For us, Spice Rum is a perfect example of that. We kind of defiantly make our version of spiced rum, where, if you talk about what spiced rum is, nobody thinks about half the ingredients that are in this bottle, but for us, it's like, this is what spiced rum is to us, this is what spiced rum kind of is to Florida, because here's those big, beautiful, bright Florida flavors. Does it normally go in spiced rum? No, but here, take it, you know what I mean? So it was a lot of the more craft centered shoppers in the state of Florida and in the United States as a whole are like, look at this thing that I've never seen before sitting on the shelf. And when we tell them the primary flavor in spiced rum is orange blossom honey and fresh orange zest from Florida, it's like, wait a minute, time out, that's not spiced rum. And it's like, no, just try it, and they can be like, you're never gonna believe this thing that I found in Florida when they go back home to Ohio or Michigan or wherever it's negative 872 right now that most people in Florida live 6 months out of the year. And we stick to that. And like I said before, kind of defiantly stick to that. And we're not gonna make what the mass production consumer market is expecting us to make. We're gonna come up with really great flavors from really, really good quality ingredients, and we're gonna make them all our way. We're not gonna make them with too much sugar. We're gonna make them with great alcohol content. They're gonna get produced with the best quality products we can find, and we're not gonna lean away from that.
Well, I would definitely say the spice rum definitely lives up to being a very floral rum, and it definitely had a really great orange zest to it, which I like that. I've been tasting that a lot out of not just like Florida whiskeys, but you get that nice orange zest in a lot of the rums now too. And I know I should have asked this question earlier, but what is the story behind the Wicked Dolphin?
Oh boy, the name Wicked Dolphin. Maria's back there giggling. We only give 652 tours a year for 9 years, and somebody's got to ask where we get the name Wicked Dolphin. Well, Joanne, the owner here, and her husband Bob retired down here in Southwest Florida, and they bought a house right near the water. And where they're located, they see a lot of marine life because of tide shifting, right? They live right near the river down here, and the tide shifts in and out. And at the time, back in 2012, they had these 2 outdoor dogs, Casper and Joe, and they were not big fans of the dolphins. And dolphins are way too smart for their own good, so they realize Casper and Joe don't like them, and they swim by the seawall really slowly just to mess with the dogs. And the dogs run down there and bark at them and chase them back and forth. And it's super adorable at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but at 2 o'clock in the morning, she thinks somebody's breaking into the house. Oh, right? Because the lights are off, the doors are locked, and the dogs are losing their mind, and they have no idea why. And there was a couple of weeks where, her husband Bob would like investigate and see what he could find, and never find anything, until eventually one night, Bob noticed that from their bedroom, the dogs could see the dolphin fins swimming by at night when the tide would shift. And the dogs were barking because they're like, the dolphins are here, it's playtime. So he got the dogs, brought the dogs downstairs, let them do their business, calmed them down, brought them back upstairs, and Joanne was like, hey, is everything okay? And Bob said, yeah, don't worry about it, it was just those wicked dolphins. And then kind of the light bulb goes off, right? And then if you look real close at our label and our logo, you kind of see that's the first logo, one of the first logos is on the barrels. That dolphin definitely has like his little Lex Luthor supervillain smirk. Like the dolphin on the front of every bottle knows he's up to no good.
Nice. And Paul, where can people find information about the Wicked Dolphin?
Sure.
Where they can find products?
Absolutely. Well, Wicked Dolphin is distributed all over the state of Florida. We've got about 3,000 locations all over the state, including big retailers like ABC and Total Wines, all the way down to your local mom and pop, retail shops. Plus, we're starting to kind of expand out into small distribution areas in places like Illinois and Massachusetts. We have several online retailers. We can't legally do that ourselves, but we have other retailers like Spirit Hub and Cask Cartel that sell some of our spirits on their website, where you can order it from them and have it shipped to you. It's kind of like Amazon for booze. But if you hang out over at wickeddolphinrum.com, we'll take you over to show you all the different rums we have. We'll give you a bunch of different recipes for cocktails. You can sign yourself up for a tour if you're going to be down here in the Southwest Florida area. We give public tours that are free and open to the public on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. You get a free cocktail sample during the tour. We take you through a guided tasting in the tasting room. We take you through the whole distillery to kind of show you the process from start to finish of what we do to make some of our rums, and then you get to try them and take some home.
That sounds great. And then people can also find out any information, updates through social media.
Welcome to the 21st century. It's the age of social media. Yeah. We do the Facebooks, we do the Instagrams, we do the Twitter, we do the TikToks, we do the whole thing. You know what I mean? Because that's just how you get yourself out to your audience. As well as if you're down here in the distillery and you stop by there, we have a monthly newsletter you can sign up for, and you can get all kinds of information that way. But really, Facebook and Instagram and that kind of thing are the we did this thing, come check it out, or we made this thing, come check it out.
Appreciate that, Paul. And guys, definitely support local and come down to the Wicked Dolphin. It's a great place to come visit when you're down here in Cape Coral.
Yeah.
And as always, guys, if you're going to have a drink, have it with us. And Ushkabe and cheers. Thanks, Paul.
Appreciate you, Steve. Yeah. Upgraded to a 1,000-gallon kettle from American Beverage Equipment.
Okay.
So we've got a 1,000-gallon kettle in place. Used to be a 500-gallon kettle there, but people keep drinking around fast so we can make it. And since we added a 1,000-gallon kettle, we added a 1,000-gallon fermenter as well. So we're running the 1,000. We're running 4 500s. And then I converted an old water tank into a 1,500-gallon fermenter. Trying to keep up, man.
Yeah, man.
And there's Harriet.
Yeah, I just always love these pot stills, hybrids.
Yeah, well, it's cool to see the unique designs from location to location.
Yeah, like when you get to some and they do the spirit safe like that. Mm-hmm. Some places just go crazy, and yours is pretty cool looking too, right now.
Yeah, we did. We wanted kind of a way to present the parrot and the spirit safe on the floor. We wanted a way to present it, make it look really presentable, but also hide all the stupid stuff in the back that people don't want to stare at. You don't want to stare at the plate and frame chiller and all the piping and everything back there. I mean, some people do.
Yeah,
but,
unless you're like us.
You get this, which kind of hides everything.
Which that's kind of a cool, unique design. I haven't seen that.
It is very cool. Yeah, I like it. And then, believe it or not, that's actually the 500-gallon kettle that we started with.
Oh, okay.
And we've kind of retrofitted it to run steam and glycol, and now that's a still. We run it as a stripping still.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool. That's Matt. By the way, Matt, this is Steven.
Matt, nice to meet you.
Podcast guy, hanging out. This is Matt's actually got a final charged up right now, I believe. See what our temperature is, and I can give you an idea. Boy, this is a good run. This is probably 175.
Oh, wow.
Right now.
You can smell it. It's a great smell.
Up on 175. Go for it, get yourself in there. Just be careful.
Ooh, that's good, man.
A little bit of that kind of sugary sweetness kind of holds on through the whole flavor profile.
Oh yeah.
Get a little bit of this, a little bit of that from the fermentation distillation run. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I like the taste. So which run is this? Is that?
This is just white rum.
Just straight up right?
Crystal. Yeah, what we're doing today. Because the crystal rum is a good base for some of the other flavored rums, right? So this is just white rum, and then we'll take this and we'll turn this into coconut or something.
Oh wow.
Probably coconut. We've been making a lot of coconut lately.
You can smell that nice brown sugar on there.
Yeah. 100 bottle an hour machine, custom built from Volpac out of Sarasota.
Oh really?
So that's a fully semi-automated bottling line back there that should be up and running here in the next few weeks, which you can tell obviously speeds up our process when we're bottling by hand, one bottle at a time. Gets pretty bananas.
So what's he bottling right now, though?
So this is actually a co-op project.
Oh, okay.
This is JF Hayden's. They do like a mango liqueur and a citrus liqueur. His distillery is in construction right now, so he's contracted us to co-pack it for him.
Oh, that's cool.
So he reaches out to us, and we blend it for him, we bottle it for him, case it up for him, and then we ship it out to his supplier for him. So until his distillery down in Miami is up and running.
Oh, he's out of Miami. Okay.
Yeah, he's a Miami guy. He'll be a pretty cool visit if you ever get a chance to go down there, because his head distiller right now is a former distiller out of Woodford.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, she's a real nice lesbian. Lady. But yeah, his distiller is female. So kind of bringing up one of your subjects.
Yeah, like I mean, that's kind of one of the projects eventually is to get some like
women distilling. Yeah.
Like I've spoken with Marion Ave.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then Heather Green a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the Fawn.
Okay.
She's Uncle Nearest. Yeah. So I've kind of spoken with them, and I think I have to get my subscribers up a little bit, but
once you get big enough, then people like Maggie Robertson and stuff, they'll come and talk to you. The 360 bar.
Oh wow.
With like an ice machine and then storage and stuff back here. The pavers just came in. That's the floor of the bar.
Wow, this is nice.
Yeah, this will be really cool. There's lighting installed. There'll be a big chandelier and fan installed.
And then that's where you guys are gonna have like the live music.
There's a band. Yep, there's a stage set up. And there's power over there, so that they've got all that, and all the trees have spotlights on them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it looks really dope.
So and then this will be kind of some like the parking area. You got a huge parking.
We go. If you look down to where the sign for the church is, that's all our property.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So eventually, here in the next year or so, there'll be a parking lot